There's a moment, subtle, almost invisible, where a woman decides whether you're just another man in her life or someone she could fall deeply, dangerously in love with. And it doesn't happen when you speak. It doesn't happen when you impress her. It happens in silence, through touch. The kind of touch that doesn't ask for attention, but commands it. And if you miss these moments, she might never tell you. She'll just slowly lose that spark you thought you had. You see, a mature woman is not moved by surface level attraction anymore. She has lived, felt, been disappointed, been desired, and been let down. So when you come into her life, she's not looking for intensity, she's looking for depth. And your touch becomes your language. It tells her who you are before your words ever get the chance. The first shift happens when your touch feels intentional, not accidental. When you place your hand on her, even for a second, it doesn't feel like you're trying to get something from her. It feels like you're grounding her. There's a difference. Most men touch with need, but when you touch with presence, it creates a strange emotional pause inside her. She feels seen, not just physically, but emotionally. And that's rare for her. Think about the last time you touched a woman. Was it rushed? Was it nervous? Or was it calm, slow, almost as if you had nothing to prove? Because a mature woman reads energy far more than action. If your touch carries even a hint of insecurity, she pulls back emotionally, even if she smiles on the outside. But when your touch is steady, when it lingers just enough without overstaying, it begins to unlock something deeper. It creates trust. Not the kind of trust built over years, but the kind that feels instinctive. Like her body recognizes something safe, something masculine, something she doesn't have to question. And here's where it gets interesting, because the most powerful touches aren't the obvious ones. They're not about passion or intensity. They're about timing. A light touch on her arm when she's speaking, not to interrupt her, but to show you're present. A gentle guiding touch on her back, not to control her, but to protect her space. These small moments begin to stack in her mind, forming a silent narrative about you. She feels calm around him. He's different. I don't feel pressured with him. And that's where emotional attraction quietly begins to grow, not through big gestures, but through consistency in how you make her feel in the smallest interactions. But there's another layer most men completely overlook. A mature woman doesn't just react to touch, she interprets it. Every touch sends a message. And if your touch feels like it's trying to rush intimacy, she instinctively distances herself. Not because she's not interested, but because she refuses to lose control of her emotional pace. This is where patience becomes your power. When you don't rush, when you allow the tension to build naturally, your touch starts to feel like something she anticipates, something she wants, even before you do it. And when a woman starts craving your touch, that's when the dynamic shifts completely. Now you're no longer chasing her attention. She's feeling drawn to your presence. But here's the part that changes everything. There's a specific kind of touch that doesn't just build attraction, it creates emotional attachment. The kind that lingers in her mind when you're not around. The kind that makes her replay moments, wonder about you, feel you even in your absence. And almost no man uses it correctly, not because it's complicated, but because it requires something most men avoid: emotional awareness. There's a subtle shift that happens inside a mature woman when she realizes your touch isn't just physical, it's emotionally intelligent. It stops feeling like contact and starts feeling like connection. And the truth is, most men never reach this level because they're too focused on what they want instead of what she's silently communicating. When you begin to understand her emotional rhythm, your touch changes without you even trying. It becomes softer when she's guarded, firmer when she feels safe, slower when she's opening up. And she notices this, deeply, not consciously at first, but emotionally. She feels like you're in sync with her, like you're paying attention to parts of her that most people overlook. And that's where the second layer of attraction forms: emotional safety. There's a certain kind of touch that doesn't ignite instant passion, but instead creates a quiet sense of belonging. It's the kind of touch that makes her exhale without realizing it. Like when you gently hold her hand, not to lead her somewhere, but just to be there with her. No pressure, no expectation, just presence. That's rare for her. because she's used to men who either hesitate too much or move too fast. Very few know how to exist in that in between space where tension builds naturally, where touch feels like a conversation instead of a demand. And when you master that, she starts to trust you in ways she doesn't even fully understand yet. But here's where it gets even deeper. A mature woman has emotional memory. She remembers how people make her feel far longer than what they say or do. So when your touch carries calmness, certainty, and restraint, it stays with her long after the moment ends. She might be alone later, thinking about something completely unrelated, and suddenly, she feels it again. That brief touch on her shoulder, that steady hand guiding her through a crowd, that quiet moment where you didn't say anything, but she felt everything. And that's when attraction turns into something more dangerous, something more powerful. Because now, you're not just part of her present, you're living in her thoughts. But there's a mistake that can break all of this instantly. And almost every man makes it at some point. They confuse emotional connection with entitlement. The moment they feel her soften, they push further. They try to deepen the touch too quickly, thinking they've earned that next level. And that's where everything collapses. Because to a mature woman, that shift feels like pressure, not connection. It feels like you've stopped listening, like you've gone from being present to being predictable. And the mystery that once pulled her in starts to disappear. So instead of escalating, you do something unexpected. You pull back, not in a cold or distant way, but in a controlled, grounded way. You let the moment breathe. You give her space to feel the absence of your touch. And this is where something fascinating happens. She leans in emotionally. She starts to wonder why you didn't take it further. She starts to feel the gap you left behind. And in that space, desire quietly grows. Because now it's no longer just you initiating connection. She's beginning to want it too. And when a woman begins to emotionally invest in your presence, your touch becomes something she seeks, not something she tolerates. But there's one specific touch, almost invisible to most men, that has the power to completely change how she sees you. It's not bold. It's not obvious. In fact, if you do it right, it barely feels like anything at all. Yet it creates a level of emotional intimacy that words can never reach. And once she feels it, she won't be able to unfeel it. The question is, are you aware enough to use it without ruining it? There's a level of connection most men never reach, not because it's out of their control, but because it requires something deeper than confidence or charm. It requires awareness, the kind that feels almost intuitive. And when you reach this level, your touch stops being something she notices and starts becoming something she feels long after it's gone. This is where the third shift happens. It's not about where you touch her, it's about when you don't. Because the most powerful touch you can create is the one you intentionally hold back. There's a quiet moment that appears in every interaction, a space where tension builds, where her body language softens just slightly, where she's waiting, without realizing it, for you to close the distance. Most men rush into this moment. They break it. They fill the silence too quickly. But when you recognize it, and instead of acting, you pause, everything changes. You look at her, not intensely, not aggressively, but with calm certainty. Your presence stays grounded. Your energy doesn't spike. And you let that moment stretch just a little longer than expected. That's when she feels it. That subtle pull. That unspoken question. And suddenly, your touch isn't just physical anymore. It becomes emotional anticipation. When you finally do touch her in that moment, even if it's something as simple as brushing her hand or lightly guiding her closer, it hits differently. Because now, it's not just your action. It's a release of tension that both of you felt. And that's what makes it powerful. A mature woman doesn't fall for intensity. She falls for emotional buildup, for the moments that feel charged without being forced. And when your touch becomes the answer to something she was already feeling, it creates a connection that feels almost magnetic. But here's where it goes even deeper. There's a specific kind of touch that signals something most men never communicate properly: emotional leadership. Not control, not dominance, but direction. It's in the way you gently guide her through a space, your hand placed lightly yet confidently on her back. Not pushing, not pulling, just enough to let her feel that you're present, aware, and in control of your environment. That kind of touch doesn't overwhelm her, it reassures her. And for a mature woman, reassurance is more attractive than intensity. Because she's not looking for someone to impress her, she's looking for someone she can relax into. When your touch carries that calm direction, she begins to associate you with emotional stability, with safety, with ease. And those feelings, they don't just create attraction, they create attachment. But the real power comes when your touch aligns perfectly with her emotional state. When she's laughing, your touch is light, almost playful, effortless. When she's opening up, your touch becomes slower, more grounded, like you're holding space for her, not just interacting with her. And when she's quiet, when there's that stillness, your touch becomes minimal, almost non existent, allowing her to sit in that moment without pressure. This level of awareness is rare. And that's exactly why it works. Because now, she doesn't feel like you're trying to win her. She feels like you understand her. And when a woman feels understood, especially without having to explain herself, that's when she starts to drop her guard in ways she normally wouldn't. But there's one final layer to this, and it's the one that separates attraction from deep emotional connection. It's the kind of touch that doesn't just stay in the moment, it follows her. It lingers in her thoughts. It becomes something she replays, something she compares every other man to without even realizing it. And once you create that kind of imprint, you stop being just a man in her life. You become an experience she can't replace. The question is, what is that final touch? And why does it have the power to stay with her, even when you're not there? There's a reason some women walk away from a man and forget him within days, while others carry the feeling of a man for months, sometimes even years. It's not about how attractive he was. It's not about what he said. It's about how deeply he was able to reach her without ever forcing his way in. And that final layer, the one almost no one understands, is the touch that creates emotional imprint. Not excitement, not tension, not even desire. Imprint. It's the kind of touch that happens in the quietest moments, when there's nothing to prove, nothing to gain, and nothing being asked for. When you're not trying to impress her, you're simply there with her, fully present, fully grounded, because a mature woman doesn't fall in love with what you do at your peak. She falls in love with how you make her feel in your calm. There's a moment, usually unexpected, where she lets her guard down just slightly. Maybe she's talking about something real, something personal, something she doesn't share with just anyone. Her voice softens, her energy shifts, and in that moment, she's not looking for a reaction. She's looking to feel safe. This is where most men fail without even realizing it. They interrupt. They try to fix. They turn the moment into something logical. And just like that, the emotional door closes. But when you understand this moment, you do something different. You don't rush in. You don't change the mood. You let the silence exist, and then, almost effortlessly, you create the lightest, most natural connection. Maybe it's a gentle touch of reassurance, a brief, steady contact that says, without words, I'm here, and you're safe to be exactly as you are. It's not dramatic. It's not intense. But to her, it feels rare. Because in that moment, she doesn't feel judged. She doesn't feel rushed. She doesn't feel like she has to perform, impress, or protect herself. She just feels understood. And that feeling is addictive. That's the touch that stays with her. Not because of how it felt physically, but because of what it allowed her to feel emotionally. It becomes a reference point in her mind. A quiet comparison she makes, even subconsciously, with every other interaction she has after you. Why doesn't it feel like it did with him? Why did I feel so calm around him? And without realizing it, she begins to associate you with something deeper than attraction. She associates you with emotional peace. And here's the truth most men never hear. A mature woman doesn't fall deeply in love with the man who excites her the most. She falls for the man who makes her feel the most at ease within herself. Your touch, when it's done right, becomes a reflection of that. It's not about taking. It's not about escalating. It's about creating moments where she feels more like herself, not less. And when she starts to feel that around you consistently, she doesn't just want your attention. She wants your presence. She begins to open up more. Stay longer. Think about you when you're not there. Not because you chased her, but because you created something she doesn't easily find. That's the difference. Most men try to make a woman feel something intense. Very few know how to make her feel something real. And once you understand that, truly understand it, you stop trying to win her over. Because she's already leaning toward you. Now the real question is, will you use this awareness to build something genuine, or will you fall back into the same patterns that make you forgettable?